So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, villains, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And football is back. We've just had a pre-season game against Walsall. Villa came out as 4-0 victors. Myself and Paddy were enthralled with the game and seeing two different sides come out for each half. And we said, you know what, pop on and we'll have a chat about it because it feels like actually it was only about 6 or 7 weeks ago that we were chatting about Villa, specifically about a Villa game. And it just seems like it's come around so quickly again. And long may it continue because there's a long season there.
Yeah, it's good to have it back. Kind of been watching football that we haven't really been interested in all summer, so it's good. It's good to have Villa back. It was exciting tonight to be able to sit down and watch the team sheet coming in, and of course before we start, I hope Dean Smith and everybody he's isolating with is okay. We found out before the game that he's isolating with his family, so they've had their fair fill of COVID now in that family. So fingers crossed and touch wood, everything is okay there.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. Obviously, the news broke, and he wasn't on the sideline tonight. But we do send our regards to him. If there is if any of them actually have it, or if they're close contact, it's unknown just yet. But we do send our regards to them, and hopefully we see Dean Smith back in the dugout very, very soon. But Absolutely. In his absence, the team went out and it performed pretty well, I suppose. Really, I know it was up against the Walsall team that. Honest with you, I don't think after the first 10 minutes they didn't really look too interested in doing anything in the game. To be honest with you, they were there to allow us to run around and do our thing with the ball, and they looked like they were just willing to chase us to get a small bit of fitness up. But it was interesting. I think that Craig Shakespeare, who picked and coached the team tonight, went with two different sides for each half. Obviously, the first half started with Steer and goals. Then you had Cash, Konza, Seb Revan, who is a lot taller than I remember. I don't remember him being that tall during the Youth Cup. Ashley Young, then the returning Ashley Young, great to see him bombing up and down that left wing, even if it was from the left back position. You had Jacob Ramsey in the Canberra and in a more reserved role, back playing as two number sixes. Buendia then also played in in midfield, and we will talk about him. Carney also played with El Ghazi and Watkins then further forward. So it looked to me that because of the positionless nature that Buendia was given, that Carney Chukwuemeka was kind of told, wherever he isn't, you should be, and that was something that kind of happened in that situation. But talk to me about how you felt we set up for the first half. Was there any, I suppose, massive standouts for you there, obviously, apart from the two fantastic balls that Buendia played through?
Yeah, he obviously stood out. He stood out like a sore thumb. I think over the 90 minutes he was probably the best player on the park. He's just a joy to watch, and I just can't wait for the season to begin now and see where he fits in, and having everybody back and having a good go at the Premier League this year. I suppose the only thing that disappointed me a little bit was the fact that Carney was kind of, I won't say jobless, but he found it very hard to get into the game, I thought, because he was a little bit isolated out on the right. But that's always going to be that way. If you've got to pigeonhole him in somewhere, it's very hard to pigeonhole him in when one of the biggest signings we'll make this summer is sitting in his position. But he put the shift in and did as well as he could. But some specifically in the first half, I thought some very good performances there.
Yeah, as I say, I was looking forward to see how the back four would. I thought they'd be tested a small bit more. Bar Jed Steer going walkabout at one stage and nearly gifting them a goal early on. Yeah. I thought that that back four had barely anything to do. I was hoping that we would see maybe some crosses come in with Seb Revan might be tested to see what he's made of, but very, very quiet first half for him, wasn't needed. I thought Nakamba was almost unleashed in certain parts of that first half. You know, he took
Yeah.
the ball forward. He was given a lot more of a freer rein. Obviously, you've got to adjust for the opposition that we were playing against, but he was given a lot freer rein. I thought Jacob Ramsey was really, really, really good in that first half. I think that's one of the best I've seen him play. He was a lot more withdrawn. He was playing in a deeper role. And I think it suited him. I think the shackles were off him a small bit because he didn't need to create an awful lot. Got up around the box, had a couple of shots, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I thought he played pretty well. What did you make of Jacob Ramsey before we go on up towards the more high powered forwards we had?
Yeah, he looked. I don't say he looked taller, but he looked different. Whether he's bulked up or whatever, he looked like he was a bigger frame of a man. Very early on in the game, he pinged the ball up to Carney as well, and I went, "Who was that?" Because we're all wearing different numbers, and you know, it was a great old commentary between Mark Regan and Brian Little.
Yeah.
It was lovely to watch or listen to, I should say. But he pinged the ball 40 yards up to Carney at one stage. I was like, "Wow." Was that him or who? I actually thought it was Carney the first time, until they actually showed a replay of it. But you know, like we're talking about bringing in players. We have an abundance of talent there in the youth setup that can step up if needed. We've seen him do it. We've seen Carney do it. We've seen him do it more often than anyone else. So you know, if he's bulked up. If he's at one stage he bullied a fella off the ball, and I was like, "Whoa, there you go."
And that's exactly it, Paddy. He was doing that at the end of last season as well. He wasn't afraid to hit for his belts or shoulders. I thought it was like a GA game there at some stages, you know, like a rugby match. Sometimes he was hitting people at force last season. That's a good point. Yeah, he did that a couple of times.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that's the case, that he's been working hard on his upper body, and he'll become better at shielding the ball instead of being pushed. I'm being a bit unfair now, but a couple of times he was being bullied off the ball, we'll say, at certain stages when he stepped up to the Premier League side. But as you say, the end of last season and today, he didn't take any crap off anybody. He just got stuck in.
Absolutely, and you know, I thought he complimented Nakamba in midfield very well. I thought he complimented Buendia at times. Gosh, at times there we were playing a flat midfield three, and Buendia was coming back. He was going forward, and we will move up to talk about that front four if you really want to call it. I really don't. It was positions at times between Carney and Buendia. Both I thought played okay. Carney was a bit subdued, but look, he's 18-year-old kid, you know, like what do we expect? 17-year-old kid, what are we expecting from him? But we'll talk a small bit about Emi Buendia first. Emi Buendia is a narky, ratty little man, and I absolutely love it. Did you see him? It was about 4 times in the first 15 minutes where he was absolutely incredulously looking at the ref going, "Give me a free." You know, he's just a competitive spirit comes out. You can see why he was fond of a red card at Norwich. I could see him if the stakes were a bit higher. I could see him having a lash out for some of the niggles that he gets. He's a bit of a nuisance in around the box. He came up for penalties in the first preseason game, 15 minutes in. You know, that's what we're getting. And you know, maybe we've been too nice as a team for stuff like that because
absolutely, yeah.
He's
I totally agree that we've been too nice. So it is quite refreshing to have somebody other than Jack arguing with the referee. Like he stood there at one stage with his boot in his hand, and he looked at the referee to say, "You know, do you think I kicked this off myself?" You know, so the camera angle, you know, pre-season, there's only one camera. There was no zoom in to see exactly what happened, but there's no doubt that somebody stood on the back of his foot when he's trying to play the ball. So it was a coming together of bodies, but he lost his boot, and you don't just lose your boot by trying to play the ball yourself. So you could see why he was complaining. But in fairness, the referee was pre-season, let the game go, which he did on a number of occasions as well. But I think everybody is just going to look at those 2 passes. Now, bear in mind the opposition as well. You know, we won't have that freedom of having those 2 centre halves leaving Ollie Watkins on his own. You won't get that.
Watkins. Usually we talk about Watkins' movement up there, and we've spoken about it against top-notch defenders. You know, he turned Virgil van Dijk into ribbons before he got injured, and you know, ran in amongst some of the best defenders in the world. He didn't need to do too much for those 2, like the 2 defenders hadn't a clue where their spacing was, should I say.
Exactly.
And but take nothing away from those passes. They were still 35, 40-yard passes on the floor. One left foot, one right foot.
if you've got that space, you utilize it and you pick your spot. There were just two incredible passes, and there was, I think it was the second one when he passed it. I think it was a bigger cheer for Watkins picking up the ball off that pass than there was for the goal itself.
You just knew it was going to be a goal straight away. Yeah. And like that was a beauty of a pass. Now look, defender couldn't get his feet settled at all or sorted at all, and he was in the wrong position because the spacing was all over the place. But you know, it was just, it's had to be perfectly played. You know, he put it right in his toe, and he didn't have to break stride, and he just took it past into space and just slatted it with his right foot past the defender. It was a really, really good goal. First one was another great breaking pass as well from him. Like, we'll see this an awful lot from Emi Buendia. I'm going to continually speak about this until I see otherwise. So be prepared for the broken record for over pre-season until I see otherwise. Dean Smith doesn't want to play with a 10. I'm going to say it. He doesn't want to play with a 10. He wants to put someone in that position, yeah, but he doesn't want someone to play as a traditional 10. So I'm not banking that we're going to sign that attacking central midfielder, because I think he's just going to want players to get into that position, regardless of whether that traditional number 10. What we saw from Emi Buendia today and what we saw from Ross Barkley were two completely different performances. Different performances. And I think the Craig Shakespeare, Dean Smith, brain trust here are okay with that. And I think later on in the second half of the season, they wanted Ross Barkley to come back more into midfield so they could play those true balls to Watkins a small bit more. I'm not going to say like we're played there, because they were two exquisite passes. You kind of get what I mean. Too often last season, we got the ball into the final third. We went about crossing the ball, and we just had Watkins in the box. We were crossing the ball from the byline. We just had Watkins in the box, and our attacks broke down. I read a statistic somewhere that in the top half of the table, or where we finished, we had the most attacks break down in the final third of any team. I remember reading it at one stage, and you can see that maybe Wally Watkins has a completely different gear in him if you play those through balls through the centre. We very rarely played through the centre.
Of occasions we sat here last season and spoke about us crossing the ball into the box for near enough the whole second half.
Burnley,
yeah, definitely Burnley. There was another one, was it maybe Brighton, that we struggled to break them down, is exactly the same, and they were just mopping them up all day and laughing at us. So to have another string to the bow is absolutely fantastic. So this guy has a bit of magic in his boots. You know, there's potential there for him to be the new magic man. So and take the pressure off Jack, and that's exactly what we need. So look forward to seeing him playing at full tilt and with whatever our first choice 11 is when it comes around to playing Watford. But you can be sure of it that he's going to be one of the first names on the team sheet.
Absolutely. And what I liked about those four strikers, look, Amoragaz didn't do much. He didn't have a bad game. He just didn't do much. He ran around a good bit. He got to the back post actually for a lovely cross from Matty Cash. Got to the back post and he was dangerous. Keeper tipped it around the post from that one. But what I really liked about the striking quartet, I suppose we'll call them, in the first half was see what Ollie Watkins did. Another big thing was, and maybe he's worked in it, maybe being in around the England team, being able to get all the practice under his belt in the, you know, coming up to the Euros and stuff like that has given him maybe some tips and tricks. But some of those finishes tonight, the first one was a bit of a deflection. The second one, that would have been saved last year because he wasn't very good at one-on-ones. You know, he was more of an instinctual striker. And some of his goals were very good last year, but he did miss some one-on-ones as well, you know. So that's another great thing for him to have. Great bit of confidence. A couple of more of those now to come in pre-season, and we'll all be laughing, I think, because he's a 20-goal-a-season striker. He's just a proper pro. And, you know, he just wants to score goals. You can see it by him. And I still say it. I said it last season as well. He's not happy to have missed a shot. He's annoyed to have missed a shot. So you never see him going, oh my God, I was so close there. You'll always see him going, why the hell didn't I score there? So he's very self-critical as well, which I think is important, and it shows a rootlessness in his game. And long may it continue for him too. So that was the first half. Eventful first half. It really was. 2 goals, 2 fantastic passes, and Ashley Young had made one foray all the way up the left wing and got a free that I think the 36-year-old legs gave out about 10 yards away from the byline as he was going to kind of whip one in. But we move on to the second half, and the second half team was much
they confused us,
changed.
didn't they?
Yeah, they really did.
They named 2 goalkeepers and 5 subs on the bench at the start, and I was scratching my head going, where is everybody else?
Yeah.
And then, of course, you're putting 2 and 2 together and getting that Dean Smith is isolating and the rest of them isolating. Have we got a new breakout? I saw a couple of comments on Twitter because of that. But look, it was all under control.
Absolutely.
It was always part of the plan.
Second half saw Jed Steer come back in goals. We had Freddie Gilbert, Lamar Bogard. A lot of trust put in him to play centre half as well, just like Seb Revan in the first half. Was partnered by Courtney House, our boy. Absolutely love him. Ben Chrisen came in, and I thought he was quite lively at left back. I thought he played very well. Aaron Ramsey, Jacob's brother, we'll talk about him again later on. Conor Horan getting some minutes and getting some minutes under his belt after coming back from Swansea. John McGinn also played, and then we had Keenan Davis, Wesley, and Jaden Philogene Bidet then up front. Talk to me about that setup, Paddy. Was there anything that really changed for us in the second half? Well,
for a long period, it appeared to be a 4-4-2 as opposed to a regular 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 or whatever we have done in the past. I think it kind of broke down early on because poor old Keenan got injured, as only Keenan could do after something like 50 seconds of the second half, trying to take the ball back inside on the end line. And I don't know whether he got caught or what happened. Again, the camera's so far away, it was hard to see. But he seemed to run it off. Linked up well for the third goal, I'm going to say it was, between himself, Wesley, and then on to Jaden Philogene Bidet. And I think after that goal, we just kind of sat back a little bit. We didn't seem to have the same attacking impetus as we had throughout the first half and the first 15 minutes of the second half. So that's why I thought the first half was a lot more intense and there was a lot more pressure put on from the team that we had out. And that's no slight on these guys. There was a few standout ones in there. I thought Aaron Ramsey was great. I thought it was great to see him playing. Ben Crescene, as you said. Big shout out to Bogarde. I thought he looked really, really comfortable. He looked like a right footed Tyrone Mings at time, just stroking the ball around. And you could actually hear him roaring at one stage. And it was like, okay, have we got another leader here ready to step into the fray? Maybe we have.
I'm convinced the only reason that he's been converted to centre back at youth level is to play him as a defensive midfielder. He's got all, like, athletically, he's definitely all there as well, and super exciting guy. Absolutely comes from great stock and a super great athletic stock. Maybe somebody who didn't have the best attitude at times, but he's really, really impressed with him today. Playing at that level, that could be somewhere, could go out on loan even at 17 years of age and go out on loan to that level and rip it up, in League 1, League 2.
Yeah. And that's probably what will happen at an age like that. But look, it was. I'm not saying it was an inferior performance. It was just less than the first half. I thought McGinn was, as usual, best, rolling people across his arse a couple of times and giving the crowd something to cheer about. Connor probably didn't get into the game as much as he would have liked. A couple of tight, intricate passes, a couple of crosses, set pieces, corners, whatever. But other than that, didn't see much of him, and I don't think we're going to see too much more of him as pre-season rolls on. I think somebody may come in for him, which doesn't give me any pleasure to say because we're all big fans of Connor here, and he left us with very many memories if he does move on. But I fear that might be one of the last ones we see him play. And then I'm sure you're going to talk about Aaron Ramsey because I think it was this goal. I actually got it wrong because at half time, Mark Regan said, and there's one change, or the only position that hadn't changed was that the goalkeeper came back over the second half. And I was going, what are you talking about? Ramsey's still there. And Stephen said to me, no, that's the younger brother. And I was like, all right, okay.
Yeah. 18-year-old Aaron Ramsey, and what a goal it was as well. And I think it was nearly the lack of celebration after the goal as well that almost impressed me in my older age, should I say, my curmudgeonary kind of reaction to that. But and
Yeah,
Ramsey gets the ball in a preseason in the Bank Stadium, a preseason friendly that we nearly play every single year. It would be kind of a traditional preseason friendly. So maybe he's been there to see Aston Villa a couple of times, and now he's getting the opportunity to do it. And about 15 minutes after coming on, after the start of the second half, he picks up the ball on the edge of the box, and he's just puts in a fantastic shot into the near post, and the goalkeeper can't get to it, and he just walks away as if, yeah, that's my job. That's what I do. I get
that's
paid
what I
to do
do.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do this for fun. I do this for fun. And I was going, this guy is like, it's very, very easy to get hyped up and get over the top about players in preseason. We've all done it before. I'll never forget one of the first preseason games I ever saw as a Villa, or first preseasons I ever kind of watched a lot of games for as a Villa fan. Stephen Cook, remember him back in the, I'm going to say 99, maybe 2000, in around that area. He absolutely lit up some academy games, and he got some minutes in preseason. I thought he was fantastic. Thought he was going to be better than Stephen Davis, and then Stephen Davis turns out to be a much, much better player as the years go on. So, but look, this guy, it's not just us that think that he's going to be something special. He's been in around the England squads, youth squads, underage squads, and things like that. And there's very, very high hopes for him in around Bodymore Heath too. So,
and the scary thing about this, we've talked about the two Ramseys and how an amazing talent we may have in our hands. Yet, if you talk to people, they have a younger brother in the youth setup as well, and he's supposed to be even better again. So keep that.
I had his name written down. His name written down somewhere, yeah. So look, it'd be great. Wouldn't it be amazing? There's very few teams I could imagine have had three brothers play on the same team at the same time. So let's do it. Let's fucking do it. Let's do it. We're Aston Villa. We do what we want, and that's what that's the way the chant goes. But no, look, I think what a goal it was, and he looks like he's all action when he's out there as well. Probably needs to fill out a small bit. Most 18-year-olds do. Wayne Rooney, when he comes along once in a generation, and maybe we have that guy that's fully formed in Carney Chukwuemeka already. But look, we'll take Darren Ramsey's every day of the week if they keep on putting balls in the back of the net like that. So fair play to him. I thought he was really good. Other couple of standouts, or not standouts, but other people I thought were. I think Ben Crescent is a very professional footballer, if that makes sense. I think he didn't make too many mistakes down there, got up and down the line. I think he understands there's an opportunity that Ashley Young, as much and all as we would like and he would like, he ain't going to play forever. At 36 years of age, I think he's probably here for a year, 2 years max, and then it's going to be, look, who's going to be the understudy to Matt Targett or maybe overtake him in that position. And there's guys there that know that, the likes of Steb Brevin, which was interesting seeing centre half, considering he was left back for some parts of the academy season last season. But Ben Crescent, I thought, was very good. Obviously has senior football experience with Exeter previously. Another young kid won the FAU Cup, but I think that he could be somebody that could, we could be talking about in a couple of years' time that's in around the squads too. It was interesting that people like him were favoured over the likes of Ken Kessler, and there was also guys there that would have been mainstays in the youth squad, like Ricky, Brad Young, Louis Barry,
yeah.
Even Tariq Wright, who was named on the bench but was out on loan last season and didn't really get any sniff of it, tonight. So be really interesting. It's going to be super interesting preseason, because we do have all these youth players that we want to get a glimpse of, we want to get a look at, and we're probably going to get a look at quite a lot of them over this preseason as we're kind of trying to ease back in the likes of Emmy, Tyrone Mings, Jack Grealish, and a few more, and whatever signings we bring in between now and the start of the season.
Yeah, well, it's all about tinkering with what we have now and getting minutes on the clock for the players that we have, especially those returning players when they come in, which will be kind of rushed. We're probably not going to see our internationals. It is kind of unusual to see John McGinn back so eager and fresh. I think the memory serves me correct. Somebody else came back early as well, by themselves. It was their own accord that they came back early. I can't remember who it was. And I presume in the next week to 10 days, we're going to see Tyrone and Jack back in. And the big $6 million, $60 million, $100 million question is Jack going to sign a new contract? So this will all become apparent over the next few weeks, but it's going to be a really interesting few weeks on the pitch and off the pitch.
Jesus, don't be saying Jack won't sign a contract. It drove my dog mad. Did you hear him? Said no, but and I'll set him on you. I'll set him on Jack as well if he decides he's going to leave
Jack
too.
is signing a new contract. It's just
Jack is signing
Jack,
a contract.
sorry,
Just
Jack is staying. Whether he needs to sign a new contract is the big question. But Jack is staying.
Yeah, absolutely. We kidnap him.
If not, you're going to find me in a dark corner drinking copious amounts of probably whiskey.
You can't do it twice to us, Paddy. You can't
listening to 1980s love songs.
yeah. It's like I could just imagine. Actually, you think you're listening to the 1980s love songs? It'd be like that Eminem song, "Stan, Dear Jack, I wrote to you again today." You wouldn't even. I can imagine that would be you. We would have to rewrite that song with the lyrics as you writing the letters to the letters in that song, Stan. But yeah, look, hopefully that'll be sorted out in the next. I think pretty sharpish after he comes back. We'll know yay or nay on that one. You know, yeah. I don't think Villa want to drag it on.
It's not something I'm worried about at all. Not in the slightest.
I'm not too worried either. No. Yeah. I'm more on the side he's going to sign and protect his value for Aston Villa, because I don't think he's going to be one of these people that's going to go, I'm going to sign, but I'm going to sign with a 40 million clause so that we get fuck all for him at the end of it.
You know, he'll be immensely paid well if a new contract was signed. He doesn't walk away thinking what might have been if he'd have stayed with the club that he loves, gone into such a huge, let's call it, you know, it's a big season for the management. It's a big season for the whole setup, and he's a huge cog on that wheel that needs to be nurtured and maintained. And you know, hopefully we'll have the amount of players in there, be able to give him a rest from time to time and take him off and let him sulk about not playing the full 90 minutes like he did one of the games. But you know, he needs it. He needs to stay with us. That's always been my opinion. And you know, speaking as a fan, if you're being paid the way he's being paid, the only thing you're going to want to do is, and I said it before, is getting Villa into the Champions League, as good as winning any medal other than maybe a Champions League medal with Manchester City, because there's really no other buyers in the market there at this stage. There's nobody left. So I think they need a striker more than they need Jack. So I don't envisage that they're going to put as much pressure on to try and sell him. Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm not going to disagree with anything there. I think that they would prefer not to have to play Sterling up front as much as maybe they have previously. Yes, they've got Ferran Torres. Yes, they've got Gabriel Jesus. They're talking that they're open to getting rid of Gabriel Jesus if it means getting in Harry Kane. So we'll let them fight it out with Spurs. And you know, as they say, does Jack Grealish want to go? And who was it? I think it might have been Stan Collymore made a great point that they broke their transfer record for Riyad Mahrez. And then Riyad Mahrez only went on to play 25 games or something like that in his first season for Man City. You know, so crazy. Even though they will splat big bucks on you, you won't get to play 38 games. And if Jack Grealish wants to get into the England squad, maybe he gets into the England squad. Maybe it's more credibility. Maybe the ghosts of not taking a player on their merits are still in around the FA corridors. But I'd like to think that that's not why Gareth Southgate is doing it, and obviously there's a lot of precedent there as well. Why would Calvin Phillips be getting all his minutes at central midfield, same as Declan Rice? You know, so I don't really buy into that. I think that it hinders him in a lot of ways.
I don't believe that's an issue. You've only got to look at Phil Foden left out of the England team.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
you know, and I'm sure from Jack's point of view, he's got an opportunity to be yet again the biggest player for the club that he loves, or he can go and sit on the bench for maybe a third of the season for Manchester City and be a big part player. So for me, it will be a no-brainer. I worry about agents because you just don't know what agents have up their sleeve or what they're trying.
And I
don't know much about Jack's agent, but Jack's agent did turn his head and make him play for England over the Republic of Ireland, and we're not going to go rake over them coals anymore. So I'm hoping, and you know, I'm actually not hoping. I'm expecting that Jack will come back full tilt for us next season and probably a new contract.
Well,
I'm going to say this again in the next podcast and the one after and the one after.
Until he signs it, we'll emotionally blackmail him into signing. Well, I think,
when he signs with Neil, I think it'll be time to open a can and have a little bit of a celebration.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a bottle of 25-year-old begging whiskey below. I think that'll get a fair frightening that night if he signs a new contract. So there could be another whiskey podcast again. But as I said, there you go, Jack. If you want to hear me talk 99% more shite than I normally do with a bottle of whiskey inside me, then sign your contract and I'll do it. Like, there's no problem. I'll make a fool of myself. It's one of my favorite things to do. But anyway, it's Paddy said he's going to sign anyway, so that's always good news. And let's finish the podcast on that very, very high note. Villa are back, guys. We're going to come back with post-match podcasts and all the preseason stuff. You know what? We might even for a team sheet tantrum for the next one, or I suppose definitely for the last few preseason games as the team begins to kind of settle down slightly. You know, with a game like this tonight, you just had no idea. It was a case of, you know, throw numbers up into the air and see what hits the ground first as to who was going to start. It was there would have been a lot of conversation, but then again, we would have needed to do another team sheet tantrum at halftime. So these fitness games at the start is not really much benefiting it, but we would be coming back probably with a team sheet tantrum for maybe the last two, maybe the last three games as the team begins to settle down when our returning heroes from the Copa America and from European Championships come back into the squad again. So thanks very much, everybody, for everything you do. Really, really appreciate all the listens, all the likes. Please, if you could you please subscribe? Even if you don't watch us on YouTube, could you please subscribe to us on YouTube? We just have a personal goal. It's a complete another vanity project. We just want to get to 1,000 followers on 1,000 subscribers on YouTube before the season starts. If nothing else, you make two guys over here in Ireland who are way too old to be on the internet a bit happy. You know, it makes us more than a bit happy. We'd be very happy. Not as happy as if Jack signs. So even if you don't watch YouTube, just click on subscribe. It's not going to kill you. It doesn't cost you anything. It's not an actual subscription. It's literally just you saying, the boys are sound. I'll do them a bit of a solid. That's all it is. So if you could do that, that would be lovely. We don't ask for much, but we do ask for that. And we do appreciate everything that you do. On a more serious note, we do appreciate everything you do for the podcast, all the shares, all the likes, all the interaction on social media. Keep them coming. Try to get back to as much as we can. We've got a couple of transfer podcasts coming out over the next few days as well, so I hope you're going to enjoy those. So as always, you can catch Paddy on @VillaPaddy. You can catch me on @LoveMcGrathPod. 4-0 win to start the season with an abundance of players used in this preseason friendly this evening. I'm all tongue tied. It's too warm here, but I suppose it's a great start to the season. Hopefully Dean Smith gets better and we see him back in the dugout. Well, I don't even know if he got to get better. Hopefully he gets cleared from whatever the situation is, and we see him back in the dugout sooner rather than later. And until then, all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?